The is the site, in an home kindergarten, a cellular pattern channel the walls, and within every cage, a humane flesh composts. While it's made, favorite ones get household a pot of ground, not an urn of ashes. A man's definitive vacationer location could be the foundations of a bed or could nourish the cradle of a wood. The is which Washington country is preparation to legalize. If the draft passes, the West Country would be the at first in the nationality to enable humane compost as a funeral stock option. There's which it tool to select a composting funeral, and why a increasing team of Americans are eschewing convention for a new way to otherwise in world. Lie in the outdoor, a humane flesh can get months to back to land, says judicial anthropologist Daniel Westcott. At first, the leather slips and blisters. It turns blacks and grays and greens. It bloats. In drier climes, it can mummify for years. In more humid ones, a person becomes a cranium in weeks. Professor Westcott of Texas Country College teaching the decay of humane bodies at the greatest judicial studies center in the nation. As length as you include nice bacterium operation, you can rot in perhaps a monthly. But the is a seldom a flesh's destiny these days. Largest will be cremated, buried in a box, or soldered in a basement, consuming up timber, earth, and some asset in the trial. A increasing quantity of sounding in the silent north are now proverb how isn't quite. Environment knows how to convert our bodies to ground all on its their own, Nina Schern says. The 48-year-old Seattle inhabitant is amongst the groundswell of human beings searching fresher ways to dead. Which's largest essential to me is how following I'm lost, my flesh is capable to offer behind to the land how has backed me, and via how build new lifetime. The drive strength over the motion in Washington country is Katrina Shovel and her business, Recompose. It says it can rotate you in suitable, fruitful, ground in 30 days. It's fair and fast trial of nature decay, says Burrow Mencken, execution CEO of Human Beings' Monument, a nonprofit sepulchral services propaganda team in Seattle, Washington. The technique Recompose giving is relying on the ways we already composting domestic livestock, in a few changes of Washington Country College ground scientific investigator Professor Lynn Carpentry Boggs to do the mix more than social reasonable. Relying on study of Professor Carpentry Boggs' crew, the definitive trial involves placement the flesh in a mix of timber shavings and such compost material, enabling thermophilic, warmth-loving, microbes and bacteria to get to job. Remnant are as well warmed to 131 F, 55 C, murder off contagions so the resultant ground is secure to use, a key portion of why lot supporters choose the way of funeral. We include all the power and capacity house each burned up or soldered off in burials, while it could be utilized to let lifetime go at, Ms. Mencken says. Power is a repeated topic for supporters of the option funeral motion. Largest say they began looking in these options since they requested to circle out their lives in a fresher path. Ecological concerns are really essential to me and act an busy part in my day-to-day option, Ms. Schern says. It's a objective lens how rest via all components of my lifetime. It just makes feeling how I die is as well verified in how I dwell. Recompose touts their trial as with 1/8 the power of burn, save an alleged metrical ton of CO2 emissions per man above usual methods. In Washington country, that has one of the highest rates of burn in the nation, Ms. Mencken says it could do a actual distinction. My original response was, so, how's a lot of job for which seems love a nature funeral, she says. Such engage placement of flesh in a biodegradable box or fair avail up funeral, enabling the flesh to back to environment, natural. Lot places, love the UK, already propose nature burials. But suggest for humane compost love Ms. Mencken say the experience could growth availability to verdant funerals world. If it brings the stock option to city dwellers and becomes accessible world, particularly in very city areas how don't include the stock option for any type of nature funeral, how could be a actual property to such areas and the earth. Possessing of any humane remnant on non-cemetery perspectives, except you are the landlord, is a insignificant criminality. And with social lands requires the adoption of by the government agencies control the lands and water. Such laws will conduct real for recomposed burials too much, but while remnant are suitable ground, though town dwellers might discover spaces to memorialize the dead. Nature funeral is rather beautiful, but as the people increases, down there is less than accessible earth, and how's to me why possessing and stock option love rearrangement is so significant, Ms. Schern echoes. Burn was one day heralded as the ecological reply to dye. Flaming bodies intended no caskets, no toxicity embalmment chemical substances, no intrigue of earth rendered unfit. Largest of the planet already prefers burn burials, especially in city centers florid in always decreasing area. The US is contagious up. In 2018, fair above part of America's 2.8 millionth corpse were laid down to otherwise via a crematory, onto information of the U.S. Enumeration and Domestic Burial Directors Associate, NFDA. Burns' reduced price accounts for lot of its popular increase, the paper says, but ecological concerns, less sectarian prohibitions, again transitory people, and a culture wish for less than ritual practices include as well modified America's relation in dye. Washington in special has an unchurched, ecologically conscious people, manufacturing it a nature lead of these changes. By 2035, the NFDA predicts just 15% national will opt for conventional burials. College of Southern California social politics professor David Sloan, whose household wood features a link of graveyard superintendents, says the nation is in a time of culture hybridity. Conventions about dye, moribund, memorials and mournings are all creature disputed, he says. Such challenges go of all way of changes, he thinks. Love human beings selecting to die at household quite rather than in clinic, human beings weeping on public print quite rather than in chapel. Humane compost is fair one more than sample of how human beings are experimenting. It in several feeling flies in the person of long-time conventions and at the identical period responds to new concerns on ecological issues. And so I believe such two things do it really Roman. Ms. Schern as well tells me largest human beings are stunned to listen how ecologically hostile present practices are. Of the largest overall reactions human beings include while listening on rearrangement for the at first period is surprise party while training on the adverse ecological impacts of funeral, burn, and embalmment. But experimenting can be expensive. And question how a lot of human beings include is the charge of it all, says Ms. Mencken of Human Beings' Monument. Order now it's designed to price on $5,500, £4,200. To be in an city center you requirement actual property, style, it's not a inexpensive draft to get at. The middle price of a funeral and view right in the US is above $7,000. For a basement, you can add else thousand. Cremations drop nearer to $1,100. The shove for composting burials is yet little and local. It's surely not an stock option. How would circulation to everyone? Professor Sloan adds how as civilization changes, down there will ever be ethics and public questions grown by the compost of bodies. Will human beings' bodies be well groomed for honestly? And will we go on to be capable to recall them as components of our communities? Love the cremationists of the deceased 19th age, Professor Sloan says down there's a opportunity the motion will see towing of sectarian institutions and the current burial production. But for currently, recompose and suggest for composting burials are fair concentrated on manufacturing it a legislative stock option, Ms. Mencken says. Which's very remarkable is we were prepared to persuade human beings and let them aware fair since its various doesn't indicate it's poor. But they are extraordinarily receive supporting, Ms. Mencken says, in a few human beings who fair dongti wish to believe on it. Ms. Schern, who hopes her household can use her remnant to build lifetime in everything way is significant for them, says Americans fair dongti say on die quite. It's individual. It's sometime else in who else, before it's no. Or time it's a theme how lot human beings dongti love to say a lot on, it's cute unbelievable while you sit behind and believe on it.